Well, good afternoon and welcome to the latest round of Industry Leaders Live. I'm very privileged this afternoon to be joined by Logan, who is the Regional Vice President EMEA at the Global Business Travel Association. Catherine, good afternoon to you.
Oh, good afternoon to you, James, and thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you ever so much for being part of this. It's really valuable having opportunity to meet with people virtually rather than face to face, and we share these conversations with all of our members, so really appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about GBTA if we can. We all know what it is, but obviously all of our audience may not necessarily understand it. So could you tell us a little bit about GBTA and what you do and what the priorities are for it over the next few months and so forth?
Yes, absolutely. Well, as you said, GBTA, it's the Global Business Travel Association, and we have more than 9,000 members worldwide. And while we are headquartered in the US, we do have a global presence, and in particular, a very strong presence in Europe. And that's primarily through the partnerships that we have with many of the national business travel associations. For instance, in the UK, the ITM, in Germany, VDR, and in the Nordics with the Finnish, Danish, Swedish, and Norwegian business travel associations, and in the Netherlands with NATM. We also have our own chapters in Italy and France, where we weren't able to form a partnership. In terms of in the business travel ecosystem, you know, GBTA, while it has both buyer and supplier members, we are primarily a buyer-led association. So that's the sort of the stance that we take and the lens that we look at the business travel industry through. And, you know, our priority is, you know, I'm sure very much like yourself, it's to support our members as much as we can, you know, at any time, but in particular at the moment. And the way that we do that is through the provision of education, through our advocacy, and also providing things like insight into what's going on. So in terms of education, we've started a 10-week program of webinars, and it's called The Collaboratory. Started in August, and it's going to run through to December. And the way it works, there's a theme for each of the weeks. And so we have like 5 webinars that are related to a specific topic. So next week, the theme is risk. This week, we're doing a global travel pulse check. And it really is a global program of education. And the way in which we're developing it is with the support of our committees, both in the US and Europe. So we're looking at education submissions we had for our live events, and we're crafting education around that in light of the fact that actually things have changed quite a lot since those education submissions were provided. But, you know, it really is content that's developed by our members for our members. And in terms of the Global Travel Pulse Check that I referenced, we've basically gone around the world. So we did a session on Canada on Monday, we did Europe on Tuesday, and I'm doing a webinar later on today, we're doing Africa. And so our volunteers in Southern Africa have developed this insight to their market, how it's working. And, you know, and I think one of the things at the minute is nothing's the same. And so to have that local knowledge is really important. I referenced advocacy. You know, we're working really hard to promote the interests of our members in Washington and Brussels and Westminster, and particularly lobbying around support for the industry. Especially for more targeted and consistent measures on how to control the spread of virus, you know, control the coronavirus being applied in a way in which that will facilitate the safe return to business travel. You know, I think quarantine seems to be a very blunt tool, and I think there are lots of people who are doing lots of things, you know, that are hindering that return to business travel in a safe way, of course. And then the other thing that we do is our research, and that feeds into our education and our advocacy efforts. And we've been conducting regular polls that assess the impact of the pandemic on business travel, and that provides really valuable benchmarking information for buyers and governments alike. And we're also planning the release of a BTI Business Travel Outlook, which at the end of the year, and what that does, it looks at the outlook for global business travel based on economic forecasts, you know, so again, should help to inform advocacy and to inform our members.
And what are I mean, obviously this is a really tricky time for everybody, but what are your members hearing about the challenges they're facing? What are you hearing from your members, I should say, about the challenges they're facing over these last sort of 6 months or so?
Yeah, well, I think these last 6 months have been challenging for everybody, haven't they? You know, both, you know, personally and professionally. You know, I've gone from traveling internationally 2 to 3 weeks a month to being very much stationed just outside of Belfast and not going anywhere. You know, what we're hearing from our members is they've never experienced anything like this and they need our help. I think the most difficult thing is what I referenced before. It's a very complex and changing landscape, you know, and I think there are lots of terms that are being bandied about, you know, the new normal or new beginnings, and whatever way you label it, we just know that things won't be the same. And so we we conduct like a regular pulse check with our members, as I said, and our latest poll results are being released today. So you're getting this hot off the press. And I think, you know, so on one hand, you've got this, things are really difficult, things are changing. But on the other hand, from a corporate managed travel program, a very interesting stat is that our travel managers in Europe are saying that 55% of senior leaders value the managed travel program more, and 62% of other stakeholders in the organisation value that travel program more. And I think what's coming out of this is, we say, you know, things are changing. It's very difficult to know where you can travel, what you're going to get, what's going to happen, and you know, whenever you arrive in a destination, and the pace at which, you know, that can change is such that it really reinforced the necessity of a managed travel program, of providing proper traveller support and information. There's a real, you know, there's that sense of duty of care, making sure wherever your traveller is going, that they're going to somewhere that's safe and they're travelling in a safe manner. And then, of course, you know, given the economic impact of this whole situation, cost control is vital. So on one hand, while things are very difficult, you know, I think one of the outworkings of this is that the managed travel program will be even more important than ever before.
And of course, you talked about collaboration and working together. Well, I recognise, and so we've talked about it in the past, you know, that there's lots of different efforts, all applaudable and really commendable, from organisations and associations and individuals working towards demonstrating this reassurance. And I strongly believe, and that's why we're talking, that coming together in a collaborative nature is really important. And thank you very much for your support in that with ASAP's work and what we're trying to do. But how do you think that we can best help your community in the GBTA, as we have so many shared values? How can we best come together and support you in what you're trying to do as well?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. And we're delighted to be collaborating with you too. And I, you know, I think that it's, you know, this is a very difficult time for our industry, and you know, we have to pull our resources, pull our efforts, and pull in the same direction as much as we possibly can do. And I think that there are two fronts, that needs to happen on two fronts. First of all, it's sharing of information and insight. So you will have a far greater insight to what's happening in your particular sector. We have the insight of what's coming from our corporate travel managers, and I think the more that we can share that information, the better, so that our respective members are better informed. And then the other thing is, I've referenced a lot, is the advocacy. And I think that, you know, there are a lot of organisations who are all pretty much saying the same thing, but we're not quite all aligned yet, and it's not like one consistent effort. And I think the closer that we can collaborate, the more that we can say the same things to Washington, to Brussels, to Westminster, the better we can represent our industry, and hopefully we can make people understand that, you know, what's happening in travel. It's, you know, it's not just about the impact on the airlines. It's not just about the impact on the accommodation sector. You know, business travel drives business growth. It's the long-term impact on UK PLC. You know, that it's key. It's key that people are able to travel when it's safe, obviously, and in a safe manner. But, you know, we've got to remove the barriers to that, because, you know, the economic impact is it's not just about how it's going to affect our suppliers. It's how it's going to affect all of our businesses. And coming out of this, you know, we need to support them, and there need to be those barriers removed.
And we were, I couldn't agree more, but we were lucky enough to be working earlier this week, and we participated in one of your excellent town hall initiatives. How did that go? Tell us a bit about that, because that was really interesting. And what are the aspirations for those sort of working groups moving forward?
Oh, well, thank you very much. It was our first ever town hall.
Okay.
My colleague in Canada has been running those throughout the summer. And the whole purpose of it is that, we're providing our members with a real, a very timely update on what's happening in relation to the industry, and also sharing with them about, tools and insights again that should help them make their way through. And I was absolutely thrilled with the response. The registration numbers exceeded all of my expectation, and I think that, and the feedback that I've had was that, the update that we gave in terms of what's happening in Brussels was something that people don't necessarily have access to. And we're really lucky that our advocacy firm, Grayling, they managed to sort of break things down and make them very understandable. So I think, a lot of people certainly seem to find that useful, and I think, while, as I say, GBTA is a global organisation, it's also very important that there are times where we provide, very specific market updates that are very relevant to our members. Our plan is that we're going to have them on a monthly basis, and the intention is that is a vehicle for us to support members. The other thing is, though, we make them open to non-members, so any member of ASAP is very, very welcome to join. So, because we think it's an important service to provide to the market.
Well, that's brilliant, and we will put that out to our members as well. That very kind offer of yours. So thank you very much. Just really sort of to summarise, in crystal ball time, we recognise that our industry is global, as indeed your representation. We collaborate with the CHPA in the States very effectively, the Apartment Association of Singapore's, and we see this globalisation coming together. And naturally, that's our aspirations, because our members share that vision. So in terms of the confidence from members' perspective on this globalisation, the hope that business travel is going to restart, what are your thoughts, and what are the thoughts of GBTA for the next 6, 9, 12 months? And further afield from there, because we're hearing so many concerns raised at the moment, the confidence, the safety, the duty of care, but what are your thoughts for the next year or so?
Okay, well, I think everybody knows that corporate and traveller confidence will be absolutely key for the future. And as I referenced, we've got a poll that we're announcing today, the results of which we're announcing today. Our recent poll indicated that domestic travel will return within 3 months, and then international travel will return within the next 6 to 8 months. And I think the biggest thing, there's no surprise here. The biggest thing that's going to impact this this return to travel is the availability of an effective vaccine. And but one interesting point was that 2/3 of travel professionals are expecting to see in-person meetings return by Q2 of 2021. And I think that fits in very much from the timescales that we're hearing about the availability of a vaccine, or the anticipation of that, and certainly it ties in with the announcements that we've had in the UK around sort of their measures, or in terms of restriction of movement. And the other thing we asked our members was, when do you anticipate a full travel volume to recover? And they were saying about 40% were saying they expect it within 3 years. So those are the sort of figures that we're seeing. And so hopefully, they say 3 months for domestic travel, I think probably is quite realistic, and international travel by the end of Q1 next year.
Well, I don't know if that's an optimistic point to leave it or not, but I mean it is. It's around doing our bit as trade associations to provide confidence to our customers and our clients, and I think they are the same people. So it's really interesting talking to you, Catherine. Thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and look forward to continuing to do so.
No, thank you, James. I really appreciate the opportunity to join you today, and yes, absolutely, we'll work together.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Catherine.
Thank you.